Good morning. Today we look at Psalms 63 through 65. 63 is a psalm that I see a lot of trust in God coming. You know, oh God, you are my God, I seek you. My soul thirsts for you, my flesh faints. I've looked upon your sanctuary, and because your steadfast love is better than this. I mean, this is a psalm of faith, of trust, of hope, somewhat of prayer again for God to be with and to protect the individual. Like my verse 5 too, my soul is satisfied as with a rich feast. My mouth praises you with joyful lips. When I think of you on my bed and I meditate on you through the watches of the night. And I read that through the watches of the night. As I meditate you on the watches of the night, reminds me of sleepless nights, you know. First watch was from 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock. The second watch was 10 o'clock until 2 in the morning, and then the third watch was 2 until 6. And so the night was 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And our nights are different than that, here in the upper Midwest and North Dakota where I'm living. But our nights vary from in the middle of the winter when they get dark real early and light quite late, and summertime when it's light quite late and light again fairly early. But through the watches of the night, the psalmist isn't afraid, as his mouth praises you with joyful lips as I meditate on you through the night. And it's just, it's a psalm to me that again, as I said, talks of trust in God, trusting in that knowing God is there and is watching out and is caring. He says, if you have been my help, and in the shadow of your wings I sing for joy. My soul clings to you. And so here this is all coming to God with trust and praise, and just that confidence in God's presence. And then verse 9, but those who seek to destroy my life shall go down to the earth. So again, there's a little trouble afoot, so the psalmist wrote of the trust in God and how God is watching and guiding and leading and protecting from this evil. And then verses 9 and 10 are kind of that there are people out there against me. And in verse 12 or 11 rather, the last verse, but the king shall rejoice in God, who will swear by him and shall exult, for the mouths of the liars will be stopped. So it's a psalm of trust in God, knowing that at all times of the day, through the watches of the night, the 10 to 2 watch was dangerous and treacherous, but again from 2 until 6 was again a time of darkness, of uncertainty. I mean, they didn't have street lights, up and down all of the streets, and they might have lamps burning in some places, but it wasn't, lamp oil wasn't just a free commodity. It wasn't like, electricity isn't free, but it doesn't cost us a whole lot to have a yard light on in our yards and street lights in our cities and stuff to take away the darkness and the uncertainties of the night. There are still uncertainties in the night, but the light prevails, and but the psalmist is saying that through the dark of the night I still trust that my God is with me, watching over, and I'm safe, so I can meditate in quiet confidence, basically in God's love and in his presence. Psalm 64 starts, hear my voice, O Lord, in my complaint. Preserve my life from the dread enemy. So, somebody again is pursuing David. He's under attack from something or someone or some country, whatever it may be. Hide me from the secret plots of the wicked, from the scheming of the evildoers, who whet their tongues like swords and who aim bitter words like their arrows, shooting from ambush at the blameless. And so, it makes me think of people who gossip, people who tell untruths or stretch the truths about things, and and people that just badmouth others just so that they can badmouth others. You know, they seem to rejoice in other people's misfortune. And so David is asking for protection from that kind of enemy, that type of people that are just out to get him, is kind of the way it sounds to me. You know, they shoot their shooting from ambush at the blameless. You know, they shoot suddenly and without fear. They've got no fear of being caught or of being punished. They know that they can, you know, slander and tell these lies without any fear of reprisal, fear of the law, or any of that stuff. They hold fast to their evil purpose. They talk of laying snares, and they think, who can see us? I mean, we're safe. And this is kind of different. I mean, he professed the faith in God protecting him through the 3 watches, the darkness of the night, but now it's, you know, the criminals, those who are against him, are thinking, who can see us? You know, we can do this in the dark, behind his back, whatever. And, you know, many things do happen in the dark. And I've commented on that before too. I know that, you know, in the dark, more evil things happen. It's getting so that there's an awful lot of evil and nasty things that happen during the day too, but still during the dark of the night, when people aren't as easily identified, is when they're a lot more apt to do their crooked deeds and that. These evil people are thinking, who can search out our crimes? We have thought out a cunningly deceived plot, for the human heart and mind are deep. You know, I mean, so here, you know, the human heart and mind can work for good, but also they can work to plot this evil and these evil deeds. They are cunningly smart, you know. And but then again, statement of faith. But God will shoot his arrows at them. They will be wounded suddenly. Because of their tongue, he will bring them down. And so, you know, it started with, you know, hear my voice, God, hear my complaint. And then, oh, God will protect me. God will shoot them down. God will expose their lies. And all who see them will shake with horror. And then everyone will fear, and they will tell about what God has brought about. And so, I mean, it's, and the very last word, let the righteous rejoice in the Lord. You know, it's, you know, that reminder of God being with us, of that in the end, truth will win out. And sometimes in today's world, it doesn't seem that way. But in the end, you know, those who do evil, those who sin against God and against others, in the end, you know, it'll work out and catch up to them. Psalm 65, a hymn of praise, a hymn of thanksgiving. Praises due you, and to you vows shall be formed. You who answer prayer, to you all flesh will come. When deeds of iniquity you forgive our transgressions, you know, and it you know, praising him for forgiveness, praising him for the goodness of the temple and his awesome deeds, you know, and you know, you are the hope of the ends of the earth. By your strength you establish the mountains. You silence the seas, the roaring of the waves, the tumult of the water. You visit the earth, you water it. You provide an abundant harvest, is basically what's being said in verses 9 through 12. You know, the pastures of the wilderness overflow, and the hills gird themselves with joy. And you know, in the springtime of the year, when here anyway, when the weather warms up and the frost comes out of the ground, and that first moisture is there, you know, not only the valleys and the plains, but also the hills are green with lush new growth. And generally then throughout the summer months, and especially, you know, here we are, starting of August, and a lot of times the hills and the pastures are starting to look a little bit barren and dry, you know, because of the dryness. But fortunately, we've had an abundance of rain this year, a blessing of that in some ways. And our hills and our pastures have still got nice green growth on them. Our cattle and livestock have an abundant supply of feed. And You know, so here the pastures of the wilderness overflow. In the wilderness, I think of, you know, bleak kind of desert areas. I don't think of, you know, lush green grasses growing, because if it was that way, it wouldn't be wilderness. It would be settled ground and people living there and tilling the soil and harvesting. And, you know, and the hills, again, they're a harder place to nurture and to raise crops, but you know, the meadows clothe themselves with flocks, the valleys deck themselves with grain, you know, so there's an abundant harvest. And this psalm is a psalm of praise and thanksgiving for the blessings from God for that abundant harvest.